Yo, what up guys, Corey Sandman Sandhagen here. Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little bit, but you know, I had some things to take care of, okay, after the fight. But today we're gonna do Ortega versus Lopez. I thought this was an amazing fight, dude. Ortega, just every single fight he goes to just impresses me so much with his fighting spirit. Like, dude, to get dropped like that with the overhand hook that early in the fight and then still continue to fight really well, just like, man, amazing. And then also on the same token, Lopez, who just like skyrocketed to the top in the UFC, just fighting so consistently, being a super fun guy to watch, and then also just like a really happy, fun personality. Good on Lopez too for getting the win. Congrats to that dude. I'm really curious to see what they do with him next and the featherweight division. But let's crack into the breakdown. Like, subscribe, comment. Peace. Love you guys. Bye. Cool guys, all right, let's start with Ortega versus Lopez, okay? Ortega and just the way that he fights and the style that he kind of has, okay? He stands real wide, kind of like how a good puncher would stand, okay? You could kind of tell a little bit going into just the way that the beginning of the fight kind of even started. Ortega was really going to be heavy on his jab for the fight. He was kind of really jittery, really long, using his arms here like this, definitely trying to use his hands here, okay? He did a really good job of like having a really good jab here like this. What we're gonna talk about today though, and I'm not gonna like, I always get so nervous when I'm doing these that I'm gonna sound like I'm like bashing someone just because I'm like pointing out all the incorrect things. That's not what these videos are meant to do. They're just meant to kind of like highlight the things that could have been done a little bit differently. One thing that Ortega could have done a little bit differently, okay? When you're using your jab, okay, and you're gonna be in a same-sided stance as the guy that you're fighting, righty-righty, okay, or lefty-lefty, whatever. When you're using your jab, going straight in makes you really available to be countered, okay? Like you see this a lot in boxing. Guys will slip to the inside, guys will slip to the outside and attack. We're gonna talk about how Lopez was able to, you know, really counter and do a really good job against Ortega's jab. But when you're using your jab straight and using your jab off to your lead leg, which if I'm fighting someone is going to be towards their rear side, can be a really dangerous thing to do, okay? The times that Ortega got hit was mostly when he was using his jab to try to close distance, and Lopez didn't move. He just stayed right here, set his feet, and started throwing like really heavy punches, overhand hooks, stuff like that. We'll get a little bit more into that. But Ortega just went way too close with his jab a couple times. That was mostly why he got hit. But that happens because when you're using your jab in a same side stance person and you're just going straight with the jab or off to the lead, you really are super susceptible to overhands, to slips to the insides, to multiple punch counters because you're staying right in front of them, okay? Another way to do it is to go off to your rear side, which is gonna attack their lead foot. So if I'm fighting a righty-righty person, like if the camera, you're right-handed, I wanna go this direction when I wanna sit down on punches. Boom, boom. This side is much harder for someone to counter me on than if I go straight in or if I go towards my lead. Again, if you guys can see with the camera, when I go towards my lead, boom, I'm open here. When I go straight at you, I'm still open here, but also I'm right in front of you for you to throw multiple other things. When I go off to my rear side or your lead side, boom, here, and I double jab, I'm a lot safer. It's really hard to overhand me like this because you're gonna punch across your body, which is just kind of awkward. And as long as this is up, I'm really safe from hooks. You're not out of the weeds, but if you are gonna commit on your jab, going towards your rear side and their lead side is gonna be just kind of a much safer choice. Especially, let's get into Lopez, when you're talking about someone that has really big power and a really like, I don't know how to call his style, but it's really rooted. It also floats too. It reminds me a lot of Ilia Topuria, obviously a lot different, but hands really high. When he does go to punch, he uses his head to block things, okay? And he floats on the floor and then roots himself to the floor very quickly, okay? Lopez and Ilia definitely have that thing in common, which is, I think, really beautiful striking. If you can float like a butterfly and then sting like a bee, but stinging like a bee doesn't mean like stabbing and it's not soft or anything. Stinging like a bee means rooting yourself to the floor, using your feet to drive through and throw really hard punches. If you can do that really good, I mean, that saying's been around for a really long time. The way Lopez used it, okay? He has his shoulders at his opponent, okay? It gives him a lot of access to this backhand quickly. When I'm a lot more bladed, my right hand has to go a little bit further. When I'm a lot more square, my right hand doesn't need to go as far. Also, when I'm bladed, it can be a little bit difficult to slip to the inside of punches or throw my overhand. It makes a lot more sense for me to do things off of my lead hand. When I'm square, I have a lot more access to my rear hand and my powerful side. Lopez does that, okay? He's moving, he keeps his hands real tight. Ortega goes to throw one of these guys, cross, you know, like drilled that 1,000 times in the gym probably. It kind of looked, not lazy, but a little bit overextended, okay? Like in his head, he wasn't thinking manage space or move him back with my jab. It was, I'm gonna throw a double jab cross, okay? And that's just to bring up another point. I talk about this all the time. Fighting is a conceptual sport. It's not a series of techniques that you do at random, okay? There are times when things make sense and times where things don't make sense. Don't get caught up with trying to do a bunch of katas, like double jab, cross, pull, uppercut, hook, cross, okay? Think that in your head, take it into your fight and think that that's how fighting happens. That's not how it happens. You throw your double jab cross to get them to back up so that you can land your cross. You would then pull, uppercut, hook, cross, only if that was the proper counter to throw at that time, given the space, given their openings, and all of that stuff, okay? So things need to be thought about more conceptually. Ortega kind of goes like this, goes for one of these. Lopez is really grounded. He sticks to the floor, throws like a cannon of a right hand, follows up with a really beautiful, quick hook, drops Ortega really bad. This happens a number of times through the fight. Not as devastating as like really early in the fight, like when it happened bad, but Ortega does go to do a couple more of these. Lopez floats, grounds, boom, lets Brian Ortega close the distance for him, and that's how he was getting hit so hard. Also staying in front of him and doing things towards his lead, okay? So that was kind of the tail of the tape for me. One more thing that I want to talk about with Lopez is the way that he does go to throw his right hand, which I really love because Ilia kind of does it fairly similar, okay? When they go to throw these right hands, they big time lead with their head, okay? They float, they have a tight guard, they ground themselves to the floor, they glue themselves here, and then when they throw their right hand, there isn't a motion back like this. And if there is, it's super small and it's really well timed, like it happens, like this happens a little bit. But when they do go to throw, their head is the thing that leads this, okay? So as Lopez goes to throw his overhand, he ducks and throws his head as well. You see a lot of what he was kind of doing the whole time. He'd eat a jab, but everything was inside, boom, slipped to the outside, just exited, because slipping to the outside, it's really hard to counter sometimes. Boom, he's here, tries to get under, tries to root to the front and slip to the inside. What that does is it gives you times where you're connecting to the floor big. Slipping to the outside is kind of hard to connect to the floor, kind of just have to exit. But when I go to the inside and when I go down, I can really connect myself, which is what Lopez does. When he does that, he leads with his head on the overhand. He doesn't throw this like this. He doesn't throw it like this. He throws with his forehead, boom, follows up with this hook, hit him with both. It was really beautiful. Did it a number of times, but that was pretty much the tail of the tape, okay? Hey, we haven't done these in a while. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys want to see more of. I kind of want to stick with just more or less of doing a lot of the pay-per-views, just because, to be honest, it got kind of exhausting doing it every single Sunday. But because the UFC has fights all of the time. But if there's like some fights that you guys really want to see broken down, all of that stuff, comment below. Peace. I love you guys. Bye.